Okay, this is now tarot lesson number 39, and I'm kind of reluctant to do it, to talk about this, but people have asked more than once and over a period of time. So in a recent video, I gave the example of the ascendant. So that's a horoscope, right? And the ascendant over here, the sunrise point, let's say you've got Pisces rising, and over here you've got Virgo on the 7th house cusp. And so this is you and this is everybody else in your life, the self and others. But also we need other people to teach us about us, as I said. And so the Pisces Virgo is the nurse who is in life to become a teacher. And so I wanted to give you a little bit more ideas about the nature of the signs of the zodiac. And it's very difficult because I don't want to argue with anybody, and I don't want to hurt your feelings, and I don't want you to think that I'm against you or against astrology or whatever. But the problem is that people who are involved with astrology, the problem is they're in love. And if you remember what it was like when you were in love, or when you are in love, the other person can do no wrong. No matter what they do, they're always right, or you always look on the best side and give them the benefit of the doubt and all the rest of it. And that's what happens with people who talk about astrology, that they're in love. So I happened this morning to see this or to watch the beginning of a podcast, and the astrologer, whatever she was, talked about how Cancer, Scorpio and Pisces are water signs, and water is intuitive and deeply divinely feminine. So whatever that might mean, I have no idea what deeply divinely feminine is supposed to mean. But the thing is, with you say, or we were told that water signs, Cancer, Scorpio and Pisces are intuitive. The only thing is, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and Aries is the child, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the thing is, saying that water signs are intuitive, that seems to imply that other signs of the zodiac are not intuitive, whatever intuitive might mean. And you think of children. Children will often hit the nail on the head by what they say, and they get straight to the truth, unvarnished, complete truth. They just say it. Is that not intuitive understanding, that they can look at a situation and say something and get to the heart of the matter? But an Aries isn't supposed to be intuitive. So this is my problem with astrology, or with the way people handle astrology. So in the past, it used to be that when you began studying astrology, you couldn't ask a question for at least 2 years, because it wasn't until you'd done 2 years of study that you were able to come up with a question that was worth taking the time of the instructor. So I'm going to give you a little bit about each sign of the zodiac, and I'm going to give you one or two words, and I'm going to suggest that you, instead of taking the word and trying to expand on it, like water signs are intuitive and deeply feminine, and I can't remember the other words the person used, but instead of taking the word and running with it, take the idea and observe natives of that particular sign and make notes and observe and see in what way the person represents that kind of characteristic, rather than take a word like intuitive and then start coming up with all sorts of descriptions and other words for intuitive. So, Aries is the first sign. And that's what Aries looks like. Or maybe it's like that, with that, rather than that. Okay, Aries is the child of the zodiac. And that's what I'd like you to consider. Aries is the child. So think about babies you've known and children you've known. What are they like? How do they behave automatically? What are they good at? What are they bad at? And in what way is an Aries person a good child and a bad child? So as Aries is a child, you can be childish, and when you're in a bad way, or you can be childlike. When you, like a baby, you don't give up. You just keep going and going and going. And if something doesn't work, you don't give up and think, oh, well, it's not meant to be, and talk yourself out of it. You just keep going, keep trying until you get it right. So Aries is the child. And I'm going to deal with opposite signs, because Aries, instead of 12 signs of the zodiac, you've got 6 pairs of opposites. So Aries, and the opposite sign is Libra, which looks like that, like a bump in a log, somebody once said. And Libra is a social hostess. So think about Librans that you know, or if you're a Libran, in what way or to what extent are you a social hostess? It's not just being involved with people, but you're a hostess. You're organizing things to run a certain way according to the standards that you've set or that you think are good enough. And you want to bring people together and make people feel comfortable and all the rest of it. What makes a good social hostess? And that's what makes a good Libran. So Aries, Libra. Then we've got Taurus, the bull. So Taurus is the farmer. And so rather than think Taurus is earth and blah, 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 and practicality and the whole bit, forget that. Taurus is the farmer. So think about what a farmer does and is like, and to what extent the Taurians that you know behave like farmers. And write it all down. And when you find a Taurian who is kind of like a farmer but not quite, write that down as well, and write down what else or what seems to contradict the idea that Taurus is the farmer. And we'll come back to this in 6 months. Give you time to think about it. So Taurus is the farmer. So farmers get up at the crack of dawn and work hard all day, and then they go home and work on their hobby. That's what Taurians are like. So opposite Taurus is Scorpio, which looks like that. Then you might recognize this shape from the lightning flash in the Tower card. But anyway, Scorpio's hard to put into one word or one idea, because Scorpio is the snake, the scorpion, and the eagle. There's 3 levels, so to speak, with Scorpio, or 3 types or 3 phases that each Scorpio goes through. There's the snake, which knows its environment and takes care of what it needs to take care of. It's the scorpion. Then it kind of morphs into the scorpion, who distracts you with its pincers at the front, and then the tail comes over from the back and stings you to death. Right, so they can be dangerous as well, Scorpios, especially when you least expect it, because they're distracting you. And then the eagle flies high above the earth, is separated or at a distance from the earth, so not personally involved in the situation, but they see clearly what's going on, and they have an overview. But the problem for Scorpio is they've got to come back to being the snake. Then they become the scorpion. Then they become the eagle. They can't pick or choose which level they want to stay at. So Taurus, Scorpio is like that. And then Gemini is the teenager. That's Gemini, a teenager. Let's say Geminis are like 15-year-olds or 16-year-olds maybe, and they're sort of know-it-all, quick. Think about what you were like as a teenager, and if you happen to have teenage children, what are they like? And that's what you're dealing with Gemini, the teenager. Whereas opposite Gemini is Sagittarius. which looks like that. And Sagittarius is the old philosopher, right? So they sit in the garden and they philosophize all day and all night. They don't do much. And so what I mean is, when I say they don't do much, think about in what way they don't do much, rather than say, okay, well, I know this Sagittarian who does all sorts, who does this and this and this. That's not the point of this exercise. The point of the exercise is to take a basic idea about a sign of the zodiac and develop your ability to see something you maybe didn't ever notice before. But these characteristics that I'm telling you, the names that I'm giving you, are totally accurate. And we're not twisting things to make it fit. We're just developing our ability with signs of the zodiac. So Sagittarius, the old philosopher, because if you look at it, there's an arrow in the bow, but the arrow hasn't left the bow. They promise a lot, but to what extent do they actually produce? Cancer looks like that. Cancer, the crab, but Cancer is the young mother, right? So Cancers will mother you, but it's the young mother, not the old mother. So they're sort of difficult Cancerians because they want to mother people and make everything right, but they're not very good at it because they're the young mother, they're inexperienced. So think about young mothers and what they're like. They have to act as if they know everything, because if you've got a baby, you have to act like you know what you're doing, but you really don't. So to what extent is that true for Cancerians? I was trying to remember famous Cancerians. I can't think of any. Tom Cruise. See, I think he's a Cancerian. So you can also, Aries, Elton John's an Aries. So if you read about Elton John or watch him in interviews, understand that you're looking at Aries in action and what they're doing and how they behave. Aries have children of temper tantrums. So does Elton John have temper tantrums? He absolutely does, and doesn't mind. Whereas I might want to have a temper tantrum, but I'm not an Aries, so I sort of do mine. So I don't want to show that side of my personality maybe to other people. But Aries will have a temper tantrum. So Cancer is the young mother. Capricorn, opposite. VS, very serious. So Capricorn is the social climber. So if you're a Capricorn, you're not to be insulted. You probably aren't, because you know it's true. But think about a social climber. They're ambitious. They want to rise up in society, and they want to be seen to have risen. But they want things a certain way, and they want to achieve in their own way. So Capricorn, the social climber. Then Leo. Leo's in the same way that Cancer's the young mother, Leo is the young man. Right? So think about young men in their 20s, fast cars, fast women, or if you're a female, if you're a woman, maybe it's still fast cars, but think about the nature of Leo. Mick Jagger's a Leo. So he preens and he's on stage and he likes being on stage. So to what extent and think about, there's what was that? Rod Stewart combing his hair in front. Every picture tells a story. Maybe the song where he talks about when he was a teenager or when he was young, he would spend hours in front of the mirror combing his hair to get it right, but it was never quite right, never quite good enough. So to what extent is Leo about appearance and presentation and performing? Because Leo is the young man. Insecure, because young men are not that secure. And opposite Leo is Aquarius, which kind of looks like that. two wavy lines, one above the other. And the keyword for Aquarius is, can't remember. So Capricorn, social climber. Okay, Aquarius is social reformer. Okay. They're involved with society, Aquarius, but they want to reform, and they want things better, at least according to the way they think. So they sort of know what's good for everybody, but you often forget to apply to themselves as well. And then we've got Virgo over here. Virgo, the teacher. And, think about teachers, and they're somebody in their early 30s they've been trained, they've got experience, they've got practice, but they can't help but instruct and tell you what to do properly, how to do it properly. I have this, I don't know, she's kind of a friend, but I don't know if I really know her well enough to be a friend. But anyway, she's a Virgo, and she was showing my wife how to braid her hair at the back, and my wife was doing a bad job, and the Virgo friend, couldn't help but take over and criticize. Now, you're doing it all wrong, and had my wife do it right, or she did it herself so that it would be right. So Virgo, the teacher. So think about teachers that you've known and what they were like, their strengths and weaknesses. And then opposite Virgo is Pisces. And so let's be nice to Pisces and call them the nurse, because they're good at nursing. They're also not very good at nursing when they're in a bad mood, or when they're doing something other than, because Pisces, if you look at it, it looks like two fish, right, swimming in opposite directions, but they're tied together. If this fish drags this one down, or wants to go down, this one has to follow. If this fish wants to go up, this one has to follow. And it's a tug of war in a way for Pisceans. But think of it as the nurse. What does a nurse do? And they're involved in personal care or looking after people. And somebody once referred to Pisces as the garbage can of the zodiac, because Pisces got what nobody else wanted, which tells you something about the nature of Pisces. Do they, or to what extent do they accept the dregs that people don't want to deal with, but we have to deal with because it's all part of life? So I didn't know how long that took, and I was going to look at cards because this is supposed to be about the tarot. So let me just, at this point, pick a card to see how will this go down. Okay, that's it. How is it going to go down? The Emperor reversed. Okay, now I expect trouble. So, on that happy note, I'll leave you to it. Today is Thursday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be back on Sunday, and we'll see what happens. Okay, thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you again. Okay, bye-bye.